Hi, today we are going to be talking about the greatest common factor. Factors are all those numbers that you can find that multiply into something. Okay, so like for example, the factors of 8 are where we divide by the 2 and get the 4, divide by the 2 and get the 2, divide by the 2 again and get 1. So I know 4 goes into 8, I know 2 goes into 8. Those are their factors. Okay. So, given this problem below, I'm given it in factored form, and I need to go put it in simplest form. I need to put it in the form with no parentheses. And normally you would look at this problem and you would go, oh, I'll distribute. Okay, I'll rainbow. 2 times 5 makes 10. X times x makes x squared. So I get 10x squared. 2 times 4 makes 8. And it came with an x. Okay, so we've done it that direction. We can totally do that. So now we need to practice getting factors of this. So we need to figure out what multiplies. I know 1 times 8 multiplies to 8. I know 2 times 4 multiplies to 8. 3 times nothing. 4, I know I'm done. I know I'm done because 4 matches 4. They're the same. Okay. So I'm going to do that again. 1 times 24 makes 24. 2 times 12 makes 24. 3 times 8 makes 24. 4 times 6 makes 24. 5 doesn't. 6 tells me I'm done because it matches. But I also need to write one extra thing here. And I also need to know that the x is a factor. For 50, I have 1 times 50, 2 times 25, 3 doesn't work, 4 doesn't work, 5 works, 6 doesn't work, 7 doesn't work, 8 doesn't work, 9 doesn't work, 10 tells me I'm done. But I also need, from here, x times x. Okay? So from here I have x times x and y times y. Now I can do combinations of that too. So that means I could get like x squared y. I could get just xy. I could get xy squared. Any of those will work. But what's really important is that you understand, like, if there's two x's that match, like, they'll go together. If there's two y's that match, they'll go together. If everything has an xy, you'll take the xy. So let's do a little bit of division. Remember that sign means to divide. So 12 divided by 6 makes 2. If I do x squared divided by x, it's really x times x over x. I'm allowed to cancel one of those x's and be left with just an x. That means I get 2x as my answer. Let's go again. So I'm going to take 16 divided by 4. Gives me 4. I'm going to take x squared divided by x, which I showed you on the last set was equal to x times x divided by x. Cancel, leaves me just an x. So I have y to the third all over y to the second. That's like y times y times y divided by y times y. See how each of them have two y's and they cancel down to just the one y on top? And then z over z, they share those cancel. So my final answer here is 4xy. Okay. When I'm looking for the GCF, this is academic vocabulary, you need to know it. I'm looking for the greatest common factor. I'm looking for the biggest number that they have in common. Okay? Más grande. That divides to all of the terms. Look for a common variable that is the smallest degree. So I'm looking for like all of those letters that are the same. So if I have x and x squared, they have an x in common. If I have an x to the 72 and an x to the 81, they have 72 x's in common. And then how many do they have left over? Let's see. 9. Okay. So let's take our answer from number 1, which was 10x squared plus 8x. And we're looking for a GCF. So I'm wondering, what do 10 and 8 have in common? They're both even, they divide by 2. Okay? They're both even, they divide by 2. 8x and 10x squared have the x in common. So when I do 10 divided by 2x, I get 5 left over and 1x left over. Here's the actual math off to the side. 10 divided by 5 equals 2. X squared looks like x times x. Divided by an x cancels and leaves me an x. Sorry, it was divided by 2, not 5. Okay, so same thing. I have plus 4, and the 4 is by itself, so let's double check that. 8 divided by 2 equals 4. X divided by x cancels out completely. Okay. It really makes a 1, but 1 times 4 still equals 4. Okay. So it asked me, what is my GCF? My GCF was 2x. That's what it had in common. And I'm going to divide by 2x, divide by 2x. Okay. So then when I went and I divided, I got 2x times 5x plus 4. That's how we write it. We write the GCF first, then we write what's left over. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So I need to factor this. I'm looking for the greatest common factor. I'm looking for what they have in common. So they're not both even, so it's not divide by 2. Okay, let's try 3. Does 3 go into 18? Yes. Does 3 go into 15? Yes. Let's see what we get. 18 divided by 3 gives me 6. x cubed. Notice they don't have any x's in common because the second one doesn't have x's. 15 divided by 3 gives me 5, and it's negative. So my GCF was 3. When I divided by a GCF, I got 6x cubed minus 5. So my factored answer looks like 3 times 6x cubed minus 5. Okay, let's keep going. $16 and $20 are both even. They both divide by 2. But you need to be a little better than that. Not only do they both divide by 2, but they divide by more than that. They divide by a 4. They both have a squareds. So I'm going to get rid of the a squared. But they don't share the b squared. So my GCF is 4a squared. When I do 16 divided by 4, I get 4. When I do a squared divided by a squared, it cancels. When I do b squared divided by nothing, it's still b squared. Okay, let's do it again. I'm going to take the 20 divided by the 4. That leaves me with a positive 5. Then I'm going to take the a squared divided by a squared. They cancel. So I'm left with just this piece. There's nothing more. But that's not my final answer. My final answer has to be written the GCF first, that 4a squared times 4b squared plus 5. Okay. Probably one more on this video. Let's see if it lets me keep going. I logged in, so it should. Okay. This and that and that and that. 15, 12, 27, 3. I'm going to try 3. 3 goes into 3. 3 goes into 27. 3 goes into 12. 3 goes into 15. So that works. They all have x's. Some of them have more x's than others, but they all have x's. So my GCF is 3x. That's going to be a part of my factored answer. Okay. So we're going to do 15 divided by 3 makes 5. We have some x's there. We're going to deal with those later. I have 12 divided by 3 makes 4. I have some x's. We're going to deal with those later. I have 27 divided by 3 makes 9. I have some x's. I'm going to deal with those later. I have 3 divided by 3 is 1. We have to write it. And it's positive. So then we're going to go check our x's. X to the 5th divided by x. Are you noticing that if I subtract, I get it? So 5 of them minus 1 gives me x to the 4th. 4 of them minus 1 gives me x to the 3rd. 3 of them minus 1 gives me x squared. X minus an x gives me no x's. That's my final for that piece. But I have to go plug that all in. 5x to the 4th minus 4x